Well, hello there, fellow pilgrims, members of the army of the Lord. I am one pilgrim from One Pilgrim's Musings. Yes, I've been away a while. I was sick, and then the Lord was kind enough to allow me a sabbatical. He reminded me, of course, that what I do is a labor of love, not a necessity. And he allowed me to take the time I needed to kind of get my mental health back in order after dealing with an illness which lasted far longer than we really thought it should have. But anyway, I am back. I am healthy. I am training again, working out, so I'm feeling good. I've lost some weight, which is not a bad thing for me. And so I'm back here before you, blessed to be before you, blessed of God. I want to start off with a special here today. Have some friends, Natalie and Todd, who recently got married, and wife and I were blessed to attend their wedding. And Natalie was telling me about how she and Todd were a long distance relationship. At least that's how it started and is today. So Natalie knew that my wife and I, who have now been married for 22 and a half years, started out as a long distance relationship. So she asked if I might speak with Todd about long distance relationships. Well, it's not much time to speak to folks at a wedding. So I thought what I would do, and what I told Natalie I would do is I would tell Lynn and I's love story and how some long distance relationships, if your heart is full of love and God has brought your partner to you, no man, no situation, no distance will rend you asunder. And that's a fact. So, the love story of Harry and Lynn. Where do I begin? The beginning is always the best place, right? Well, I had lost my first wife about 10 years before I met Lynn. And I had moved from Indianapolis to Florida, and I was working for Raymond James Financial in their IT department. And at this point, I had 2 dogs. And that's a little difficult when you're single, living alone. But I worked it out, spent as much time with them as I could, and actually had gotten to the point where, after battling through loneliness and doing a few admittedly stupid things, had come to the point where I was happy and complete alone with the Lord, of course. At the end of each day, and it's very hot in Florida, and I have very light skin, as you can tell, but after work in the evening, I would take the dogs for a good long walk, sometimes 4 or 5 miles, prayer walk, and talk to the Lord, and just kind of hang out. Just me and Rocky and Sandstorm, my 2 dogs. And during those walks, those prayer walks, one of the things I said to the Lord was, Lord, I finally learned how to be complete in and of myself. And I'm not unhappy being single and serving you here in a little church that I attended in Florida. But I really would like a partner, Lord. But I'm done looking. First of all, I probably look in all the wrong places and make all the wrong choices. So if it be your will, bring someone into my life in your timing. And I remember one night late, couldn't sleep for whatever reason. When you're single, you keep odd hours sometimes. So I was up half the night, and I went out onto this Christian website called crosswalk.com. And I was just looking at some of the stories people were telling on there and some of the other things. And just kind of wandering around there. And I saw that they had an area where you could put in a profile. Now, this was supposed to be for, if you were looking for dating or whatever. I wasn't. Honestly, I wasn't. But it intrigued me. I said, well, this is it. Because I'd never really put down, the who I was, my kind of Christian journey kind of thing. So I said, this might be interesting. I'm awake, nothing else to do here, 2 o'clock in the morning or so. So I filled out a complete profile, was honest about a lot of things, and having been honest about a lot of things and being a Christian, you often think that if you tell people those things, no one, you're just about assuring yourself that no one will answer your post. But anyway, I didn't put it out there for that reason. I just put it out there, and then I printed a copy of it for myself. Lord knows where I've put it at this point, but I do have it somewhere. Anyway, went to bed that night a little later after doing that and forgot about it. Oh my gosh, had to be 6 months, maybe even a year. And then one day I'm looking through my emails, and I have an email from crosswalk.com that there was a Lynn Andress who had read my biography and wanted to, and had sent me a message. So I couldn't even remember that I had done it, but I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. Let's see what Lynn Andress has to say. So Lynn had written me just a short letter saying that she had enjoyed my biography and that she too had 2 dogs and was single and spent a lot of her free time, walking her dogs and taking care of them. And she professed also her Christian faith, and she told me she had 2 near adult, at that time, children. And she just wished me well and thanked me for putting my biography out there. And she said she really didn't expect to hear from me, but she just wanted me to know that there was somebody out there who had appreciated what I had written. Well, something pricked my spirit, and I was like, whoa, you don't get away that quick. I didn't even know I'd ever get an answer from that, and I'd forgotten all about it. So I did a little through crosswalk, of course, because they required that you go through them unless or until you had decided to give each other your personal email addresses. Now, this was over almost 25 years ago now. So really weren't cell phones. Cell phones really weren't a thing yet. And email, I won't say was just starting, but it was in the early days of email. And so through Crosswalk, I wrote Lynn back and, thanked her for answering my post and, telling her she had said she was in New Jersey. And I said, it's funny. I'm here in Florida now, but I'm originally from, pardon me, messages come up on my phone. I have to at least check and make sure it isn't something that I have to attend to. So I apologize if you see me look down every once in a while. I apologize for that. Anyway, so I said, you're where you live is almost on the way to my original home up in the Albany, Troy, Schenectady area of upstate New York. I said, would love to meet you someday, just for maybe on a trip up to see my relatives and just share a cup of coffee. We seem to have a bit in common, but we're a long ways away from each other. So anyway, to make a long story shorter, Lynn wrote back, I wrote back, Lynn wrote back, I wrote back, and for a few weeks, we found ourselves writing to each other every day, and our relationship growing. Well, we made a few phone calls as well. In those days, there was no voice over IP, and there was no, FaceTime and all of that. So you had to pay long distance fees for the calls. So we had a few calls, and things were going really well. We seemed to enjoy each other's company and had much to talk about. And sometimes when you meet somebody, you don't have some, and then other people you just kind of click with, and you talk. Well, that's what happened with us. So I discovered, the expense was a bit much for the long distance calls because we were calling each other several times a week. Well, I found this at that time new thing. This gentleman who was running a voice over IP service, and for about $24 a month, which was a little more expensive then than it is now, 25 years ago. You would pay him $25 a month, and you could make all your long-distance calls at no additional cost. So I told Lynn about this, and she was unable to get it up there in Jersey. This guy was in Florida. So I said, I'll call you, and there'll be no long-distance charges. So we kind of got into the habit of calling each other sometimes during the day, but mostly at night. Basically, for, seems like about almost a year, I kind of tucked her in at night. I'd call her at night, and we'd talk, and we'd talk for a while, and we'd say goodnight. And during that time, I decided that I really did want to see and meet meet Lynn. So without even going to my relatives, I told her I would. Well, actually, let me remember this correctly. I told her I would like to have a relationship with her before I'd ever even met her for the first time. And here's one of the funny things about this relationship is we had never exchanged pictures. Now, she had seen some of mine because I had put them on Crosswalk. At the time, I actually had long hair and a ponytail. You could actually reach in the middle of my back and grab my hair. That's how long it was. And I had a full beard, think of maybe even Santa Claus that long. So, because I'd been out of the military for a few years, and after having, short hair all that time, I had just couldn't find a barber I liked, so I just decided, you know what, I just gonna let my hair grow. And so I did, and I let my beard grow. Unfortunately, it wasn't, I was hoping it would come in orange or red, but by that time I was close to 40, so unfortunately my beard was already white. But, well. Anyway, I had long hair and a beard, and I was doing a lot of canoeing and stuff like that. So anyway, there were pictures of me and my dogs out in the canoe and stuff. So, but I'd never seen a picture of Lynn because she'd answered my ad. She'd never sent me a picture, and I'd never asked her for one. So we developed this relationship, and I said I wanted to see her, and that I was gonna fly up there and rent a hotel to stay in, and wanted to meet her for dinner and formally take her out, and she was agreeable to that, and but she started laughing and she said, "You do know you've never seen me." And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm aware of that." So you don't know what I look like? I said. I said, "Well, it doesn't matter. You love the Lord. We have a lot of interests alike. You love the Lord." Now, not to insult, any groups of people or anything, but she said, What if I'm a dwarf, a midget?" I said, "Well, then I guess if we go to parades or concerts, I guess you'll have a good seat on my shoulders." And I laughed. I said, "I don't care. It doesn't matter what you..." She said, "What if I'm horribly disfigured?" I said, "Not to me." So anyway, Lynn eventually, not right then, but shortly there, she did send me a picture, and it turns out it was kind of like a Solomon before the Lord thing, because I wasn't looking for the outward beauty, but the inward beauty. The Lord gave me both. Lynn is a beautiful woman. She'd be beautiful to me anyway, but she happens to be beautiful in the outward sense as well. So, it was a while before I could come up there, and the truth of the matter is, and this is one that might shock you, I asked Lynn to marry me before I flew up there and actually met her. That's how our love story started. I was so in love with her. It didn't matter what she looked like. It didn't matter that I hadn't seen her yet. It didn't matter that we hadn't actually gone out to dinner yet. We had probably spent, we'd spent countless hours for over a year on the phone. And I knew what I wanted. I knew in my spirit, I knew that God had brought someone into my life that I wasn't looking for, who loved the Lord and shared a lot of the things that, obviously every like isn't the same, but shared a lot of the things that I like, shared the quiet time that I now sought in my life. I've had the craziness. I was in the military. And as a military policeman, I've had a lot of loud and crazy in my life, and I've had enough of that. And Lynn, as a nurse for years, had her share as well. So we were seeking just quiet and love and companionship. So Lynn said yes to my telephone proposal. This woman that I had never physically met gave me her heart, and I gave her mine. I then flew up to Philadelphia, and Lynn met me at the airport. And we went to my hotel room. Nothing happened there, except maybe the most important thing that happened on that trip. I got down on my knees. Lynn didn't know that I was going to do this. She'd known that I'd asked her to marry. She'd said yes. But she didn't know that I'd brought a ring with me. I got on my knees before her in that room, and I asked her to marry me. And once again, this time before each other, she said yes. That was the start. It was another, well over another year, maybe a year and a half before, it was about 9 months, I guess. 9 months, 10 months before we actually got married. Every other month, I was flying up, breaking my piggy bank open, and flying up to see Lynn for the weekend. And between the hotel bills and the flights, running up my credit cards, I didn't care. Didn't matter. Just had to be with her. So we set an October 12th date for our wedding, and packed my house up, packed my dogs up, all in a big U-Haul, and got a trailer for it and what they call a lowboy. And I had a truck at that time, put my truck on the lowboy, put my dogs up with me in the cab, and up to New Jersey we came. And Lynn met my dogs, Rocky and Sandstorm, and they finally got to live in some place that wasn't an apartment and had a yard, and they had a mommy who loved them and took care of them. And my first wife, whom I bought the dogs with, had loved them, but because of her health, she really wasn't able to spend much time with them. So, and then she passed, and for, 10 years, they only had me. So now they had a home, a family, another dog or two they had to get used to, a yard, and mommy to take care of them. So they were in bliss. And so I stayed downstairs in a spare room for a couple of days until the wedding. And then on October 12th of 2002, Lynn and I were married. It's been an interesting journey, full of love, with some issues along the way, as every life has, but we've tackled them together. And look, whether you have a long-distance relationship to start, whether you have an active long-distance relationship, or whether you're together from day one, just remember, now that you're married, you can't put yourself first. You shouldn't be anyway. You should be putting God first. If you're both putting God first and then putting your spouse second, everything will work out. Be patient. Be kind. Continue to read Corinthians. I think it's 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the chapter on love. Love is patient, love is kind, love is long-suffering. Because there will be hard times. If you think you're never going to have a fight, you're never going to disagree, well, you've got some learning to do. Because those things will happen. But your love for the Lord and for each other should conquer all of those things. Men, we are called to love our wives and to give up our lives for them. There are a lot of things I used to do. I don't even miss not doing them anymore. I gave my life over to join my wife's life. That's what good husbands do. My wife has supported me and respected me all these years, and that has made me successful. I don't have to ask for her love. I already have it. She certainly doesn't have to ask for mine. She knows every day, by how I treat her, that she has mine. And so, Todd and Natalie, I charge you, as I charged myself, to love and honor each other. And in time, when the time is right, seek the Lord on this. You need to close the physical distance. That will require some conversations, some give and take on both sides. But you need to be together. I moved heaven and earth. I gave up my entire life to come here and be with Lynn. Best decision I ever made. Most godly decision perhaps I ever made. Except, of course, giving my life to the Lord. So, Natalie and Todd, I wish you well. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May He make His face to shine upon you and give you. I've had 22 years and I'm looking forward to 50 more. And I hope you have as many, together and in love. So to you and to all couples out there who might start geographically as a long-distance relationship. And yes, those of you who don't have that and are together from day one, love one another. Remember, the Apostle John, when he was aged, used to be brought into the church to speak to folks. And history tells us that John would simply get before the congregation and say, "Little children, love one another." Secular history tells us that some of the elders of the church at one time asked John afterwards, "Brother, why is it when you come, you only have that one short message for us? You walked with the Lord. You spent 3 years with Him. You've written the book of Revelation. Do you have more for us?" And he said, "My brothers, when you get love one another right, we'll move on from there." Now, I'm not speaking to the whole church, which needs to hear that, but I am speaking to Natalie and Todd and other loving couples out there. Love one another. That is the key to it all. Keep reading Corinthians 13, the chapter in love, because it defines what love truly is. And we are told that there isn't a single spiritual gift you can have that means anything without love. Therefore, I charge you, as John charged the church, with this simple statement: love one another. When issues come up, let your love see it through. Don't give up on each other. Love one another. Well, this is One Pilgrim. I am happy to be back before you after, well, a little less than a brief hiatus. And I'll be picking up very shortly. I think I'm going to do some, I'm going to take some of the, prayers and decrees that I make daily, or try to make daily, at least a few times a week, not every one of them daily, in my private prayer time. I'm going to share them with you. Some of them are straight from the Word with, a few changes personalizing them. Some of them are prayers that I've adapted from words that I've heard. And I think I'm going to start there. Keep it short, maybe one or two of some of the things that I do for a day. And hopefully some of them you will adopt and personalize for yourself as part of your prayer walk on a daily basis. So again, I want to finish by just saying once again to Natalie and Todd, love one another. This is One Pilgrim. For now, I'm out of here.